The narcissist cares more about being right than they do about your entire life. Um, so, why is it so important to the narcissist to be proven right? And I guess another question is, why is it such a persistent thing for them to seek out evidence that they're right? In other words, if they're right, why do they always have this burning, yearning need to prove it all the time? And it's sort of ongoing for years or decades. Well, it's because they're wrong. If they were right, they would have known like a long time ago. It would have already been obvious. So, um, there's two different layers to the narcissist or any person's self. There's the ego or false self. I mean, there's more than two different layers, but for this argument, there's primarily the false, everything about you that's false, and everything about you that's true. Now, the ego or the false self is trying to maintain ego boundaries. And it does this by proving to itself that it was right. I was right. Oh, I was right. But the true self, beneath the ego, does not need or feel the need to prove that it's right, because it already is right. And it doesn't matter how many times the ego proves to itself that it's right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, hundreds, millions of times, it will always feel the need to continue, it will always feel the need to have that one more proof that it's right, because it's wrong. And deep down in every person, the true self is there, knowing that the ego is wrong, and knowing that it can never prove that it's right, because it's not right. And this whole thing can go on. It goes on in all people, like many people, ordinary people, this battle between the true self and the false self. For the narcissist, it's just more extreme. It's more extreme. They put so much into the false self to the point where they're trying to sort of get rid of the true self or hide it or destroy it in themselves, and then they start doing that to others. So they become so obsessed with this pursuit of proving to the ego proving to itself that it's right, that it's like literally somebody else's life could end, and it would be okay because if it proved finally to the ego that it was right all along about whatever the argument was. And it becomes this way because it becomes so singularly focused, because it's an obsessive thing where the ego cannot find peace of mind, and it will do anything to be complete, like Gollum. It just becomes obsessed with this one thing of proving finally that it was always right. I was always right. And it's such an all-consuming pursuit that it's like Gollum. It's like, surely, Gollum from Lord of the Rings, he would happily kill somebody to get the ring back, right? It's not even a thought, because it's become such a focus and an obsession. And like the ring, it doesn't matter how many times he puts it on or how long he wears it. It doesn't ever fully satisfy him. It just makes him want more. He just needs more and more and more and more, and it's never enough. So this all-consuming and completely focused, self-focused pursuit of the ego to prove that it's right is the reason why the narcissist would rather be right and have you die. They're okay with you dying if it proves them right. And then, of course, once you figure this out and once you think about this, you have to ask yourself, are these the kind of people you want to associate with? Probably not. Okay, so that's the concept. And the continual pursuit to try to prove yourself that you're to yourself that you're right is something that they will also pawn. They pawn everything off on other people, and they will pawn this off on the narcissistic survivors. So the narcissistic survivors become obsessed with proving they were right about the narcissist, and so this becomes another codependent thing, and it becomes another trap. You just have to let go of trying to prove that you're right or they're right or whatever, and just let the facts be what they are and let the chips fall where they may, and that'll be the way out for you. Not for them, because their pursuit of being right is never going to end for them. It just never ends. But for you, it can end if you just kind of say, yeah, I give not that you're right, but I give up on trying to prove to you that you're right, or I'm right, or anybody's right. And that could be the end of it for you. And then your work is done. And the good news is that the work is over.